Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to go over my footage for the Mythic prototype Pantheon testing that happened earlier today. First off, I just want to say I'm going to try and make this video very fluid. I don't want to pause like at all if I can, mostly because I'm just recently getting over being really sick. I was sick for I think 20 days, almost something like that. And it really did a number on my throat and my lungs. So it's been difficult for me to talk for multiple minutes straight, especially when I'm trying to talk in an engaging way. So I just wanted to get that out of the way real quick and say I apologize in advance for not being very high energy, and also for if I end up coughing or anything. I'll try to mute myself if I'm gonna, but yeah, so I thought I'd get that out of the way up front. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know how this fight works, you start off with these two bosses. This is going to be a council fight. So you start off with these two bosses. They'll transition at 50%. I'm pretty sure only one of the two bosses has to hit 50% HP, and then they'll both leave. And the two other bosses will come out. They correspond with the four covenants. So this is the Primus, like a robot version of the Primus, a prototype even of the Primus, and he symbolizes Maldraxxus, of course. And there's one for the Kyrians, and then the other two are obviously the Venthyr and the Night Fae. So that means that we get to see what's his name, Sire Denathrius. He's the prototype for the Venthyr. So he'll come out after these two go away, and the Winter Queen will also come out and be one of the bosses. So like I was saying, you start out with these two. They'll transition at 50%. You'll get two more, the Venthyr and Night Fae person, and then they'll transition at 50%. And then for phase 3, the final phase, all four of the bosses will come out, and you fight them all at the same time. So there are a couple things to think about on this fight. First off, with any council fight, you start thinking about, should I play Misery or should I stick with Twist of Fate? And on this fight in particular, especially with how Shadow Priest handles spread cleave currently, I think that Misery is the play, and I'll talk about that a little bit as the fight goes on. But you'll be able to notice pretty quickly why I think Misery is the play. 1 second, sorry. Okay, so so you've got these two bosses. You're gonna play Misery, almost guaranteed. And then the other thing that I want to mention that's different from live servers right now is I can use two legendaries on this fight. On the PTR, we've got double legendaries unlocked, and I'm also doing this testing with the 4-piece tier set. So you'll see my shadows spawn every so often and do damage. And I'm playing Pallid Command and Shadow Flame Prism, so I'm running Mindbender. I'll go ahead and hit play now. I'm running Mindbender, I'm running Misery, and I'm also playing Unfurling Darkness, something that hasn't seen play in a really long time. You'll notice right here I dot those two guys on pull because I get the Unfurling Darkness proc and instantly use it on the prototype of duty. So then I wait a little bit till they get into position, and I'm going to send my CDs. You'll see these 4 Sire Denathrius shadows. The way they work is they target one person, just like the old Night Hunter, and then they dash to them. There are also ritualists around the room. You can see this guy right here. And these 4 ritualists will do this ritual that spawns this pool in the middle of the room. And the longer they channel, the bigger this pool grows. So you need to kill them all in time. The way those two mechanics work is these ritualists all have a shield around them that reduces the damage they take by 50%. So if you hit them with a Night Hunter line, if they soak a Night Hunter line, then they lose the shield. So what you want to do is the 4 Night Hunters come out, the 4 Ritualists come out, and everybody with a Night Hunter puts a Ritualist in their line, and then you get rid of the shields and you just kill them all. There's this phase where The prototype of duty dashes away and does that pinning volley thing. None of us got hit by it, but if anybody does, they get stunned. Oh, here we go. This is a good example. I am actually going to pause for a second. This is a good example of what you're supposed to do. So those big swirlies that you saw on the ground during the pinning thing, those are kind of like the traps on Zymox, where if you get hit by it, you're just stunned and people have to deal damage to you. And then once they deal enough damage, you're unstunned, right? So you're going to have a spear through your body, and you can't do anything. And you can't disperse it to get out of it. You can't do anything. You just have to wait. If you do get hit by that, which you should never because you're a ranged player, but if you do get hit by that, dispersion is probably not a bad idea because you can't dodge anything. Also, subtle flex. I'm on the top of the meters. Let's go, baby. Shadow Priest is strong. Okay, so then this is what I wanted to mention. This is exactly how you handle the Night Hunter Necrotic Ritualist thing. And as you'll see, the guy dashes through and it goes away. And you also take a fair amount of damage. So pretty sure nobody soaked my line right there. And I was down to like 40% HP. The other thing I want to mention real quick, you'll notice a bunch of weak auras like this one over here, the ones that pop up on these guys, stuff like that. All of these weak auras are private currently. I'm not allowed to share them, but if that changes in the future, which I wouldn't be surprised if it did, but maybe not until after Prague is over. If that changes and I get the okay to share these weak auras, then I'll put them. I'll share links to them for sure. Feel free to ask in the comments. But as of currently, like I said, they're private, so I'm not going to be able to share any of these until I get the A-OK from my guild. So, okay, now let's hit play. There's one other mechanic in this phase that I hopefully can catch. What'll happen is you'll get two blue barrier-looking things. They look like a Disc Priest's barrier, these things. And two people will get this debuff, the Runecarver's Death Touch. It's on this guy and this guy. What you have to do is one of them runs into the blue thing. You dispel it. Maybe. Somebody dispel this guy, please. Or this guy. Yeah, so you run in there, you get dispelled, and it gets rid of that big barrier thing. Inside that barrier thing, you take reduced healing, I'm pretty sure. Or no healing, maybe. Something like that. And then also, it's area denial. So on heroic testing, what we were doing is both players would go into one of them, and we'd mass dispel them because it was quicker, but that means that you have less room to work with over the course of the fight because the barrier doesn't go away, right? So then you're stuck having to avoid it. So it's at least what we were doing this time is, and let me pause one more time because this is like the only other mechanic to talk about in the fight. Basically, what we were doing this time is one player would go into one, the other player would go into the other, and you just single dispel them. If you can get a mass dispel on the two people, totally cool. There's like not really any reason to wait to dispel them as far as I'm aware. You do want to wait until they're in a bubble, because if they're not in one of those bubbles, either they die or everybody dies. It's really bad. So you do want to wait until they're in a bubble, but if the two bubbles are close, for instance, and the players can stand within a mass dispel's distance, then you could mass dispel both of them in their two bubbles and be fine. So that's something to keep an eye out on if you're, trying to help the raid more. Okay, then the other thing I wanted to mention, this is again the same Night Hunter thing, and this time we have these seeds out that look like Zymox seeds, right? And these seeds have a shield, and this shield does the exact same thing, except instead of reducing damage taken, these shields reduce healing received. Because these are the 4 seeds from Heroic, where if you heal one to full health, it'll give you a debuff that increases your healing received across the whole raid by 25%. So I think the best way to play around these seeds is you want to get rid of the shields, and then you want to extend the duration of these buffs as long as possible. So you'd probably pop like one seed, wait a while, pop another seed, wait a while, that kind of thing, just to increase the amount of healing everybody takes for as long as possible. But we'll see what the strategy ends up being. Maybe there's a time where you want to pop all 4 at once because there's a ton of damage coming and you just really need the extra healing. Anyway, so I'm going to hit play now, and hopefully, fingers crossed, not pause anymore. So yeah, these lines go through these seeds. It's exactly like the other one, and I'll also mention what I almost did there. Players can also soak those Night Hunters, so you'll see occasionally people get this yell bubble above their head where they're saying help soak, and when that happens, it's because players can soak it, right? So when I ran mine through the Ritualist and took like 60% of my health and damage, that could have been reduced if somebody had stood in my line, and maybe they did, and it was already being reduced, but as far as I could tell, you could survive without any defensives, nobody standing in your line, as long as you hit one of the Ritualists. I'm also not sure whether or not the Ritualists will reduce the damage that the player takes from that Night Hunter, like if they count as a soaking player. These tornadoes going around the room, these silence you and do damage, so you just want to avoid them. I failed avoiding them for a second there, but not a huge deal. And then you can see these animals walking across the room. The Winter Queen is the one doing that. They'll spawn from a portal on the edge of the room and just walk in a straight line across. And if you get hit, it bounces you in the air. This is the exact same mechanic that Denathrius does in his fight, where he grips everybody to him and then you all run away and it explodes. That time, though, we managed to push like right during the mechanic, because there's supposed to be another thing with it too, where players get prideful lines on them, basically. And you basically want to handle the prideful lines just like you handled prideful lines back in Mythic Plus and 9.0. So this is the final phase right here. All 4 bosses are out. Oh, you're going to pop Lust, you're going to pop all your CDs. This is when it feels really bad to get one of these mechanics, but it feels really good if you don't, right? Because everything's stacked. You could just do bonko damage. Like I'm doing like 15k and rising right now. Also, our tier set bonus is really, our 4-piece bonus, I should say, is really strong for this. If this guy can just sit here and channel onto all 4 at the same time, it's like really strong. For anyone who doesn't know, our 4-piece, it scales linearly currently. So if you have 1 target, it does 1,000 damage to that 1 target. If you have 2 targets, it does 1,000 damage to both targets. So 2,000 total. If you have 3 targets, it does 1,000 damage to all 3 targets. So 3,000 total, right? That's what linear scaling is. And it's really strong. So there is a chance that they nerf it, make it so that it doesn't scale linearly. But if it stays the way it is currently, it's so good for this moment right here. You can just absolutely blast these guys. And this is another reason why Shadow Flame Prism is probably the legendary you're going to want to play on this fight. Right here, we decided to just not hit these seeds. There was a call made that we're just going to ignore the seeds and we're just going to focus the bosses because they're super low. I'll also mention, final pause before the video ends, I'll also mention that all 4 bosses need to die within, I think it's 20 seconds of each other. When one of them dies, they'll start a cast. It's like a reconstruction or something. And if that cast finishes, then all 4 of them will go back to 100% HP and you wipe, basically, right? Because you can't fight all 4 of them from 100 to 0 again at this point in the fight, right? So that's something to be aware of, and another reason for why they're stacked. Because if you have them all spread out, it's going to be harder to keep their health bars as close as they are right now. And that's another thing to keep in mind when you're a DPS player, is if you see one of these is particularly high, maybe focus some more Devouring Plagues into it, any other single target damage as you're cleaving all 4. And then right here, you'll see the prideful lines. I try to dodge these guys. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Let's see. No, I don't. And then it goes off. I almost get hit by my own. I managed to dodge it. This is what they look like. They're a lot slower this time around than they were on Heroic, so they're easier to dodge. I imagine they're probably going to stay that slow. And then, yeah, we just end up rotting out the damage right here. And that's as far as we got on testing. So, final thoughts on this fight. I enjoyed it a lot. I really it felt pretty similar to something like Queen's Court from Eternal Palace, where you've got multiple boss frames, and you're like clicking between them, making sure Vampiric Touch and Shadow Word Pain stay up all the time. And then while you're doing that, you're focusing on other things like the 4 guys around the room. You're focusing on hitting the seeds with your lines. And then you're also doing this mechanic. One other thing that I'll mention is Vampiric Embrace is really strong for this. If you pop Vampiric Embrace, I'll just say in general, Vampiric Embrace is really strong. Press it like within a couple GCDs of going into your cooldowns, and then you can forget about it, and it does like crazy healing, dude. I'm gonna say up front that I think Vampiric Embrace is kind of slept on. I think it does way more healing than people realize. But yeah, that's gonna be the end of the fight. That's gonna be the end of the video. Let me know what you guys think. Again, I apologize for being so low energy and you know, probably a little rusty as well as far as these videos go, but I will try my best to you know, put out some more. I'll probably do one for every testing that we did, as long as my guild is cool with it, because I'm going to be streaming the final testing session next Friday, the 21st of January, on Twitch. So check the description for a link to my Twitch if you want to watch that. And I also plan on streaming some other stuff over the next, you know, however long, some other WoW streams. So that's going to be it for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What you think of this fight. What do you think of this style of video? That kind of thing. If you're looking forward to 9.2. I do think that Shadow Priest is going to be really strong. So I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.